The stars glittered coldly in the endless void, distant fires against the black canvas of space. Captain Elias Kane's ship shuddered as it emerged from the wreckage of the last battle. Smoke curled through the corridors, and the sharp smell of burning metal filled the air. His squad had fought valiantly, but the Valari had been relentless, striking with precision and cruelty. Ships of his fleet had been reduced to drifting debris. Humans had fallen, friends he had known since the academy, all gone in moments of alien fire. Yet Elias kept moving forward, driven by something stronger than fear duty. The corridors were eerily quiet now. The fighting had moved on, leaving a trail of silence and destruction. Elias's eyes scanned the wrecked cruiser, stepping carefully over broken metal and scorched walls. Every sound, the groan of stressed steel, the hiss of leaking plasma, made him tense, ready for another attack. And then he saw it, a small movement beneath a twisted bulkhead. A child. Elias froze. The boy was tiny, no more than 7 years old. His skin shimmered silver, unlike any human he had ever seen, and faint pulses of light ran across it. His eyes were wide, glowing faintly in the dark, reflecting fear, confusion, and a touch of hope. For a moment, Elias hesitated. This was the enemy. This child was part of the race that had killed so many humans, that had destroyed entire colonies. Every soldier in him screamed to leave the boy to his fate, to focus on survival. But another part of him, a part that had nothing to do with orders or wars, stirred. This boy was alone, scared and innocent. He had not chosen to be part of the war. Elias knew what it meant to be powerless in the middle of chaos. He had been there once, on a battlefield where death had circled him like vultures. And now he could save this child. Without thinking, he dropped to his knees, moving carefully through the wreckage, hands outstretched. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm here. You're safe." The boy flinched but did not run. Something in Elias's calm voice, in his presence, gave the child a spark of trust. Elias lifted him gently, cradling him against his chest. The boy trembled, weak and frightened, but he did not struggle. Then came the shots. The Valari had not left the wreckage entirely. A burst of energy slammed into the metal beside them, throwing sparks and debris in all directions. Elias reacted instinctively. He raised his body as a shield, covering the boy with his own. The energy hit his armor, sending a jolt of pain through his body, but he didn't let go. He felt something deep inside, something human telling him that he could not fail. He could not let a child die when he had the chance to protect him. The boy's small hands clutched at Elias's uniform. "I'm scared," he whispered, voice trembling. "I know," Elias said, his own voice tight with pain and fear. "But you're not alone anymore. I've got you." The moment stretched. Debris fell around them, fire crackled, and the groaning metal threatened to crush them. But Elias refused to move from his position. He held the boy tight, every instinct screaming to survive, but his heart focused entirely on the child. He felt the life and warmth of someone so small, someone so fragile, and it strengthened him. Finally, the firestorm passed, leaving smoke and silence behind. Elias's body ached, his armor scorched, blood dripping from shallow cuts, but the boy was alive, and that was enough. For the first time in hours, Elias allowed himself to breathe. The boy looked up at him with wide, fearful eyes, and a faint glimmer of trust started to appear. I'm Lear," the boy said softly, still clinging to him. "Elias," he replied, managing a small, exhausted smile. "You're safe now, Lear. I won't let anything happen to you." As the stars outside the broken hull twinkled coldly, Elias knew he had made a choice that would change everything. He had saved the child of his enemy, taken the first step toward something bigger than war or hatred. And somewhere, far across the galaxy, someone or something would come to claim this child. But for now, Elias held him close, shielding him with his own body. Ready to face whatever came next, Elias carried Lear through the broken corridors of the destroyed cruiser, every step heavy with exhaustion and pain. The child's small body trembled against him, and the silver glow along his skin pulsed faintly as if reflecting his fear. The world outside was chaos, but Elias had a plan. He knew of an old asteroid station nearby, abandoned and hidden from patrolling ships. It was not much, but it would keep them alive for at least a while. The journey was slow. Every sound, the distant rumble of shifting metal, the occasional spark of electricity, made Lear flinch. I don't want to go," he whispered. His voice was small, fragile, and Elias felt a pang in his chest. "You have to," Elias said softly, pressing the boy close to his chest. "I promise we'll be safe there. You'll be able to rest." Lear's eyes searched his face, full of doubt, and Elias forced a gentle smile, even though his side throbbed with pain. He had been hit during the rescue, but the child's life mattered more than his own wounds. That was something every human soldier knew, though few had the courage to act on it. When they finally reached the asteroid station, Elias moved cautiously. The doors were rusted, the walls scarred from decades of neglect, but it was quiet. No sensors, no patrols, just silence. He carried Lear inside, placing him gently on a cot that had long ago lost its cushioning. The boy curled up instinctively, holding himself tight, trying to make himself smaller in the cold, dark room. "Here, you can rest," Elias said, handing him a small ration of water and protein paste. Lear's silver fingers trembled as he took it, eyes wide with uncertainty. "Why? Why are you helping me?" Lear asked finally, his voice barely above a whisper. There was fear there, but also something deeper: curiosity, confusion. Elias sighed and sat beside him. "Because no child should die alone," he said simply. "No matter who they are. I've seen enough death, Lear, and I've learned something important. Life is worth protecting, even when it's someone you're told is your enemy." Lear's eyes softened, a faint glow pulsing along his skin. "My people. They told me humans are monsters," he said. "That you would kill me if you could." "I used to believe the same thing about them," Elias admitted, touching his side where blood had soaked through his uniform. "But I was wrong. Not everyone is the same. Not everyone wants to hurt you." He paused, looking at the small trembling figure in front of him. "You're a child, Lear, and children. Children deserve a chance to live and be safe." For a long moment, the two of them sat in silence. Outside, the stars shone coldly, indifferent to the tiny drama unfolding inside the station. But inside, a fragile trust began to form. Lear reached for Elias's hand, small and hesitant, and Elias took it gently, giving him reassurance through touch. Days passed slowly. Elias did what he could to care for Lear. He cleaned his wounds, tended to the small scratches along the boy's arms, and shared what little food and water remained. Lear began to smile occasionally, small but real, when Elias spoke gently or made a joke to lighten the heavy silence. The silver glow along Lear's skin brightened in moments of comfort, flickering like tiny stars in the dark room. And yet, far away, a shadow moved across the Valari homeworld. The Queen, towering and ethereal, had learned that her son had survived. Her fury was unmatched, a storm of grief and anger that no human could fully understand. For her, Lear's survival was a challenge, a wound to her pride, and a threat to her control. The humans had dared to save her child, something no one else had ever done. She swore she would claim him, no matter the cost, and the thought of him in human hands fueled her determination. Back at the station, Elias sensed it. He couldn't see her, couldn't hear her, but he felt the weight of what was coming. Lear shifted in his sleep, small fingers curled tightly around Elias's arm. He whispered, half dreaming, "Don't let them take me." "Please." "I won't," Elias murmured, brushing the child's hair back. "I will protect you. No one will take you while I'm here." The bond between them grew stronger with every passing hour. Lear, once terrified and distrustful, now clung to Elias not just for safety, but for hope. And Elias, a hardened soldier, found something he had not felt in years: pure, unshakable purpose. He was not just fighting a war anymore. He was fighting for life, for innocence, for something that transcended orders and enemies, and somewhere, across the stars, the Valari Queen prepared to bring her full power to bear. She would not understand Elias yet, not fully. But she would see soon enough that the human who saved her child was unlike any foe she had ever faced. The quiet of the asteroid station was shattered by a sudden vibration. A deep hum that seemed to reach into every corner. Elias's head snapped up, his instincts screaming danger. He had expected patrols, perhaps a scouting ship. But nothing had prepared him for what appeared in the void outside the viewport. A Valari ship unlike any other he had ever seen hovered above the station, massive and glowing with a strange living light. And standing within its hull, stepping into the airlock as if it were her own throne, was the Queen herself. Towering, silver-skinned, radiant, and terrifying, she moved with a grace that was both beautiful and deadly. Her eyes, like twin novas, burned directly at Elias and Lear. And he felt his chest tighten under their weight. The child stirred, sensing the presence of his mother, his tiny hands clutching Elias's uniform. "Mom?" Lear whispered, his voice a mix of hope and fear. Elias tightened his hold, keeping the boy between them. "Return him to me," the Queen demanded, her voice echoing like rolling thunder across the metal walls. "He belongs to me. He is my son, and you have no right to keep him." Elias stepped forward, careful to keep Lear safe. "He's safe with me," he said firmly. "I won't let you hurt him or anyone else." The Queen's expression shifted, a flicker of disbelief crossing her luminous features. "You would defy your own kind to protect my child?" she asked, her voice almost trembling with shock. Elias swallowed against the tightness in his throat. "Yes," he said, his voice steady despite the pain in his side. "Because he's a child. You've taught him to fight, to survive, to kill. But he's still a child. And children don't deserve war. Not here, not ever." The Queen's gaze softened for the briefest moment, and Elias noticed the faintest hint of something human behind her overwhelming presence: grief, loss, and a mother's love. But that moment vanished as quickly as it appeared, replaced by her aura of power and fury. "You speak of mercy," she said, almost bitterly. "Your kind shows mercy to my son, yet you destroy my people without hesitation. Why should I believe you are different from the others?" Elias's jaw tightened. "Because this isn't about war anymore. It's about him. You see the child I protect, not the soldier I am. You see life, not politics or battles. That's what makes me different." The Queen paused, studying him as if trying to see through the layers of human flesh into his very heart. Lear's small body pressed closer to Elias, seeking protection, safety. Elias could feel the boy's pulse, fragile but alive, and it strengthened his resolve. He would not back down. "Do you understand what you risk?" the Queen asked, her voice now quieter but no less dangerous. "You defy me, defy your species, and yet you shield him. You put your life in my hands, human." Elias met her gaze without flinching. "I know the risks," he said. "I know I could die protecting him. But some things are worth dying for. Protecting the innocent. Protecting a child. That's worth any cost." The Queen's glow seemed to flicker with uncertainty, her hand raised as if to strike, then lowered. Something about the courage and conviction in Elias's words shook her. No human soldier had ever stood before her with such defiance and such humanity. She realized, in a way she had never experienced before, that this man was unlike the others, fearless, selfless, and guided by something greater than strategy or conquest. For a heartbeat, silence fell over the station. Even the stars seemed to hold their breath as mother and protector, alien and human, faced each other in a standoff born of love and war. Lear looked up at Elias, his glowing eyes wide and trusting. "He's protecting me," the boy whispered. "He really cares." Elias gave a small nod, pressing the boy closer. "I do. I always will." The Queen's eyes softened ever so slightly, just enough that Elias thought he saw a flicker of understanding, or perhaps respect. She would not take the boy today, not yet. But she had come, and the weight of her presence was a promise that this encounter was only the beginning. Outside the station, the Velari ship drifted, humming with power and intent. Inside, Elias held Lear tight, the boy's warmth against his chest giving him strength. The human soldier and the alien child, bound by circumstance and courage, faced the dawn of a challenge that would test their hearts, and the limits of their loyalty like nothing before. And somewhere deep within her, the Queen knew that this man would haunt her thoughts. His defiance and protection, a force she could not ignore. She would come for her son, yes, but now she would watch. And she would see if this human was worthy of challenging a mother's love. The silence of the asteroid station shattered as the Velari Queen extended her hand. And a wave of energy surged toward Elias and Lear. The floor trembled beneath their feet, sparks leaping from the walls as the blast collided with metal. Elias felt the heat brush against him like a knife, his armor scorching, but instinctively he threw himself over the boy. His body became a shield, absorbing the energy that would have torn Lear apart. Pain shot through his side, sharp and burning, yet he refused to release his grip. Lear's small voice trembled. "Captain, it hurts, please." "I know, Lear," Elias gasped, gritting his teeth against the pain. "Stay close. I've got you. I won't let anything happen to you." The Queen's voice rang out, powerful and chilling. "You dare shield my child with your own life? You defy reason, human. You will pay for this foolishness." Elia's eyes met hers, fierce and unwavering. "It's not foolishness. Protecting the innocent isn't foolish, it's human. It's the best part of us, the part that makes life worth living." The Queen's energy surged again, a pulse of light that seemed to vibrate through the walls and into Elias' very bones. He pressed himself closer to Lear, every muscle burning, but he stayed firm. Fear threatened to overwhelm him, but he would not show it. The boy's life depended on him, and that alone made him stronger than any weapon. For a brief moment, Lear felt something stir within himself. His silver skin flickered, a soft glow spreading outward like a pulse of light. Instinctively, he extended his small hands, and a shield of energy blossomed around them both. The walls of the station hummed with the alien light, forming a fragile barrier against the Queen's attack. The Queen faltered, her brow furrowed in surprise. No human had ever resisted her power in this way. Her eyes widened as she saw the bond between soldier and child, the trust that Lear had placed in Elias. It was something she could not crush with brute force. You would risk everything for him?" she demanded, voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief. Elias nodded, sweat running down his face, blood staining his uniform. "Yes, because he is a child, and children deserve a chance to live. Not every life is about war or conquest. Some lives are about love, courage, and sacrifice. That's what makes us human." The Queen's eyes flickered as though she was seeing something entirely new. She had commanded armies, led countless battles, and crushed foes without hesitation. But she had never witnessed this, a human defying death not for honor, not for victory, but for the sake of a child. And in that moment, something within her shifted. Lear's small voice broke through the tension. "Captain, don't let go." Elias felt the warmth of the boy's hands on his armor, the tiny pulse of life against his own. He gritted his teeth and held on tighter, drawing strength from the child's trust. Pain, fear, and exhaustion pressed down on him, but he refused to let them win. He was a shield, and he would remain one until the last breath left his body. The Queen took a step back, studying them both. Her energy subsided slightly, no longer striking with the same force. Elias looked up at her, his face bloodied, his armor scorched, yet his eyes burned with determination. "You fight with something my people do not understand," she said quietly, almost reverently. "Strength, courage, heart. You would protect my son at the cost of your own life, and yet, you do not seek revenge. You do not seek conquest. Why?" "Because it's right," Elias said simply, his voice strained but firm. "Because I can. Because protecting life, protecting someone who cannot protect themselves, that is the measure of who I am." The Queen's presence pulsed with uncertainty, the power around her wavering as she took in his words. For the first time, she did not see an enemy. She saw something greater, a human with courage, with honor, with the capacity for love even in the darkest of times. Lear pressed closer to Elias, sensing the change. His small glow dimmed as exhaustion overtook him, but Elias remained steadfast, holding the boy close, refusing to let the Queen break them. The first true test of courage had passed not in victory or defeat, but in the unwavering strength of one human heart, protecting another innocent life. Outside the station, the stars continued to burn cold and distant, indifferent to the struggle within. Yet inside, a bond had been forged in fire and light, one that neither alien might nor fear could undo. Elias had proven that courage and humanity could stand, even against the most formidable power in the galaxy. The asteroid station was silent now, except for the soft hum of emergency lights and the faint breathing of Lear. Elias knelt beside the boy, pressing a clean cloth to the shallow burns and scrapes on his small arms. Lear's silver skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, pulsing with exhaustion and fear. Yet he was alive, and that was all that mattered to Elias. Outside, the Valari Queen lingered, hovering near the airlock. Her immense form radiated power, but something in her aura had shifted. The raw anger that had filled the room moments ago had softened, replaced by something harder to define. Curiosity, confusion, and a flicker of respect. She watched Elias, her piercing eyes tracing the lines of his bloodied face, the steadfast courage in his posture, and the gentle way he cared for her son. "You stay with him despite knowing the danger," she said, her voice quieter now, almost contemplative. "You have risked everything. Your life, your pride, even your mission. Why?" Elias looked up, his jaw tight but his gaze steady. "Because he's a child. Because he didn't choose this war, and because I can. Protecting life is worth more than any victory, any weapon, or any pride. That is what it means to be human." The Queen paused, and for the first time, she allowed herself to study him beyond his role as a soldier. She saw not just a human, but a heart strong enough to defy her, to defy the galaxy, for the sake of compassion. She felt a strange pull, a mixture of awe and unease. No human had ever spoken or acted with such conviction, and no human had ever stood against her and survived with dignity intact. Lear stirred, sensing the tension. He blinked up at the Queen, then at Elias, his small hands clinging to the cloth Elias had pressed over his arm. "He saved me," Lear whispered softly, almost shyly. "He really saved me." The Queen's glowing eyes softened, and she knelt slightly to meet her son's gaze. For a mother, this was unbearable, seeing her child alive, but under the protection of one she considered an enemy. She wanted to claim him, to take him back with force, but watching Elias care for Lear, something in her hesitated. "You speak of mercy and compassion," she said slowly, her voice almost unsteady. "My people have taught me strength, dominance, control. Yet, you human, you wield something far stronger. You fight with your heart. You protect, even when it is not required of you. Honor life." Elias shook his head slightly, wincing at the pain along his side, but still holding Lear close. "I don't do it for honor. I do it because it's right. I do it because I can. Life. Life is worth protecting. That's all that matters." The Queen's light pulsed, a mixture of awe and confusion, as if her body could not fully comprehend this human's nature. Her energy, which had radiated fury moments ago, now shimmered with restraint. She was a creature of power, of command, yet Elias had shown her that strength was not the only measure of worth. Compassion, courage, and sacrifice could match it, even surpass it in a single moment. Lear looked up at Elias, his small silver glow pulsing faintly. "Will she hurt us?" he asked quietly, clinging tighter. "No," Elias said firmly, brushing the boy's hair back. "She won't hurt us, not today. Not while I'm here. She's learning something, Lear. Even the strongest can see the truth of what's right." The Queen studied Elias one last time, her expression unreadable but softer than before. "Perhaps I was wrong," she admitted, her voice quiet but powerful. "You are not like the others. You have shown me courage, humanity, and the true meaning of protection. You are extraordinary human." Elias nodded slightly, feeling the weight of her words but also the relief that the immediate threat had passed. He remained by Lear's side, a shield not just of his body but of his heart. And the bond between them had grown stronger in the crucible of danger. For the first time, the Queen hesitated in her desire to claim Lear. She would not take him by force, not yet. She would watch, she would wait, and perhaps she would learn from this human's example. Elias had proven something profound, that even in a galaxy torn by war, a single human heart could shine brighter than any weapon, could bridge the gap between species, and could teach an alien mother a lesson in courage and compassion. And Lear, feeling safe for the first time in his young life, rested against Elias, unaware of the depth of the change he had inspired in his mother. The boy's silver glow dimmed as sleep took him, but the bond forged in fire and sacrifice would never fade. Outside the station, the stars burned silently, indifferent to the fragile peace that had settled within. But inside, a human soldier, a small alien child, and a mother who had begun to see beyond anger and power, had taken the first steps toward a future neither could yet imagine. The asteroid station was quiet now. The only sounds the faint hum of the life support systems and the soft breathing of Lear, who slept peacefully in Elias's arms. The boy's silver skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, his tiny body curling instinctively against the human who had risked everything to protect him. Elias's eyes were heavy with exhaustion, his armor scorched, his side still aching from the wounds he had taken during the battle, but his focus remained entirely on the child. He could not allow fear, fatigue, or pain to break the bond they had formed. Outside, the Valari Queen's ship hovered silently, her immense form casting a soft glow through the viewport. She had watched them, observed Elias's unwavering courage and the gentle care he had shown to her son. And now, she had come to a decision, one that would define the next chapter of their lives. The airlock hissed as it opened, and the Queen stepped inside. Her presence filled the room with an almost unbearable intensity, but there was no hostility this time. Instead, there was an odd mixture of reverence and hesitation. Lear stirred in his sleep, his small hands reaching for Elias as if seeking reassurance. "You have done well," the Queen said quietly, her voice lacking the thunderous authority it had once carried. "You have protected my child when no one else would. You have shown courage, humanity, and something I did not expect to see in a human, pure love." Elias stood, keeping Lear close. His face was streaked with soot and blood, his body exhausted, yet his eyes met hers without fear. He's a child, Elias said softly. He deserves to live, to be safe, and to have a chance at a life that isn't ruled by war or hatred. I will not let anyone take that from him, not even you. The queen knelt slightly to meet Lear's gaze, her glowing eyes softening. Your father is brave, she said gently to the boy. He has shown me the true strength of humans. Remember him, my son. Lear blinked up at Elias, then at his mother. His small voice was muffled but determined. I will, always. He pressed closer to Elias, reluctant to let go. Elias smiled faintly, brushing a strand of silver hair from the boy's glowing forehead. You'll see your mother again, he said softly. And I'll always be proud of you. The queen studied Elias carefully, her expression unreadable but softer than before. She had come expecting to reclaim her son by force, yet this human had changed something within her. He had shown her that courage, compassion, and love could exist even in the midst of war. He had proven that strength was not measured by power alone, but by the willingness to protect the innocent, even at great personal cost. Finally, she extended her hand toward Lear. Come, my son. I will guide you, teach you, but I will not force you to forget the one who protected you. Her voice was firm but gentle. A promise rather than a threat. Lear hesitated. Glancing at Elias knelt, holding the boy close. It's okay, Lear, he whispered. You're safe. You'll be with her now, but you'll never forget. And neither will I. The boy finally slipped his hand into the queen's, casting one last glance at Elias. His small glow pulsed faintly, a quiet signal of trust, courage, and love. Elias felt a sharp pang in his chest as he watched them leave, but he held on to the knowledge that he had done what no one else could. He had saved a life, changed a future, and proven the best of humanity to an alien mother who had once seen only enemies. As the queen's ship departed, the station returned to its quiet solitude. Elias sank to his knees, exhaustion washing over him, his wounds screaming in protest. But alongside the pain was pride, a deep, unshakable sense that he had done something extraordinary. He had faced impossible odds and remained true to his heart, and in doing so, he had shaped a bond that would endure across galaxies and species. Far away, Lear glowed faintly in the ship, feeling safe and protected. Though he had left Elias behind, the lessons of courage, compassion, and sacrifice would remain with him forever. And somewhere deep within the queen, the memory of this human, the one who had risked everything for her child, would linger a reminder that even in the darkness of war, light and humanity could shine brighter than any weapon. For Elias, life would continue, and so would the war. But the story of a human who had shielded the enemy's child, who had stood unyielding in the face of fear and power, would ripple across the stars. It was a tale of courage, love, and the enduring strength of the human heart.